Welcome to the Level Up and Live podcast. Another great episode coming at you right here. This one came from a conversation from a friend, and the more I listened to him talk, I was like, I think this is an issue that most business owners, entrepreneurs, really anybody suffers with when trying to get outside of your own mind and work on something as opposed to working in it. So today we're going to be discussing that we know what we should be doing in a business, like we should be working on it. We understand that. Everyone talks about that. There's tons of books on it. But when it comes to actually doing it, we're working in the business. We're doing the mundane tasks. So a chef says he's working on his business, and yet he's the one in there making the omelet. That's not working on your business. You're literally working in it. If a chef wants to work on his business, he's probably not going to be doing a lot of cooking. So in this episode today, so we know that conceptually what I just said there. So today we're going to talk about what it looks like and some steps on how you can view yourself, what you're doing, and how to get yourself out of that so that you can progress your business and improve it. So lots of questions for Sean. We've got some good stories. I have my own thoughts, and we're going to dive in. So by the end of this, you should have a pretty good blueprint of what do you need to do next? What could you sit down and figure out, like where are you working in it and not on it? And you're going to see dramatic increases of freedom, power, and results. That's for sure. So yeah, let's jump into it, man. What's your first thought when you hear about people? They know what they should be doing, but they don't do it. What's going on there?
Yeah. So once you understand the concept of working on your business and not in it, because it's thrown around all the time, right? And so it's like, what does that actually mean? And so working on your business means focusing on the long-term growth rather than just handling the day-to-day task. And that was me to a certain degree. The first few years is I was just focused on responsibilities, tasks, handling the day-to-day operations of the business. And what working on the business really means is it's about building a sustainable and scalable operation. And so the way I break it down and the way I've made some notes here is when I was building my insurance brokerage back in 2015, look at that like a car. Most people drive cars, right? A car or a truck. So working in the car means you're driving it daily, basically like you're handling clients in the insurance business and solving immediate issues. So working on the car means you're upgrading its engine, tuning it for better performance, and planning the next big road trip. Now, without this, your business might run, but it won't go the distance. And that's what I learned early and often in the insurance business is, if I'm doing all the work, the emails, the phone calls, the customer service, then this is not going to be sustainable. I am going to run out of gas. I'm going to not get to a healthy place where fulfillment, just like a car, if you don't oil it properly, if you don't properly maintain it, if you don't work on its performance, then what happens? It's going to end up shutting down on you. And so one of the frameworks that has helped me on some simple steps on working on the business and not in the business is the first step I always go to is you must be super clear on the goal, right? Determine what you want your business. And for me, it was the question of what do I want my insurance business to achieve in the next 3, 6, or 12 months? I had to break these goals down into actionable steps. And I've shared this on other episodes and other podcasts on in 6 months, I want to hire my first assistant. If I want 60 grand for my first year, this first assistant is going to make 35 grand. And I'm okay with taking that pay cut because I know in 12 to 18, 24 months, I'm going to 5X that, 6X that. And that was my vision. So I had to break these things down, and I had to get super clear. That was step one on what it is that I wanted my business to do in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months.
You know what I just heard there too, man? I think this is, if anyone gets anything, that's the nugget right there. I think a lot of people are thinking, I need an employee today. Oh, they've gotten so far on their own and they're like, I got to hire, but they didn't plan that out. It wasn't a goal they were leading towards. And so when they say, I need to hire today, and they look at, do I have the cash flow? Do I have money to do this? Do I have the system set up? They have none of it. And so it's kind of a scramble, and then they don't end up making any progress, no decisions. They continue to do what they do. Well, you said there, you'd actually had a 6-month plan. I'm going to hire someone in 6 months. And so the whole goal, like you said, getting clear, getting the goal, now you're working towards that. So when it's actually time to happen, like all the things are aligned as much as they could be. And I
Yep.
think that's where a lot of people are going, they're not, they plan for the future. They know where they want their business to go, but that's a very specific, smart goal, hiring that employee and being very
Exactly.
prepared for it.
Well, put yourself in my shoes, right? And if you're a business owner and you've got a real estate business, a landscaping company, a t-shirt business, whatever the business may be, for me, I was an insurance agent in 2015. I was busy on the day-to-day managing client renewals, handling claims, taking phone calls. But I also, at the same time, I wanted to grow the book of business. I wanted to hit that $1 million mark. So instead of just taking on more calls, which meant working in the business, I decided to set that goal, 3, 6, 12-month goal, to increase referrals by 30% over the next 6 months. So by deciding this, I decided to work on the business a percentage of my day to create a referral program, network with more loan officers and real estate agents, and improve the client follow-up process. So by doing this and understanding that I needed to do these 3 things and who I wanted to become by setting that clear goal, then I was going to take a percentage of my day. So if I work 10 hours a day, I was going to take 1 hour a day to work on my business. See, I think a lot of business owners, when they set these clear goals, are like, okay, now what steps? Well, you don't have to go out of the gates and work 10 hours on the business. Work 30 minutes on the business.
But
There's
you still
3
have to do
different.
the day-to-days. Like you're going to have to do that if you don't have an employee, because nothing's going to get done if you don't have it. So yeah, there is a period of where you have to do these
Sure.
things, and that's exactly what you did. But each moment, each day you're driving is towards a short-term fixable fixes all the other problems for that certain direction, and you're working on it continuously going, as opposed to the overall arching. Well, 5 years from now, I just want to have a business that sets me free. Man, that's not going to sustain. Most people will not be able to do the work on their own to if that's the only goal, as opposed to that short term. Man, I'm doing this so that I can get someone else to do it. Like
Yep.
that's very applicable. It's very strategic. It's very now. It's a driver, and you see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's very close. The gap is closed. It's not 5 years out. Man, this is 3 to 6 months, and I know what I'm all about. So you're willing to put this energy effort in because you won't be doing that here in a short period of time because someone else will be handling it, and that would be now you're able to expand the business. That's a beautiful goal, short
Yep.
term.
Exactly. Step 2 would be leading into what you just said, creating systems and processes. So you're going through the process. I'm answering the phones, I'm doing the emails, I'm figuring out what's working, what's not working. So I'm documenting these procedures and systems so these tasks can eventually be delegated. Because remember, that's step 1 is get super clear. Do you want an employee or do you not want an employee? Right. And so if you're okay with, we just did a podcast a couple of weeks ago with an entrepreneur minimalist. He was okay being the self-employed. He was okay being by himself and doing all the work. To me, if you ask me that, there's no way. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be doing all the work because I just know it's the hit by the bus policy, right? So if I get hit by the bus tomorrow, that business is stopped. And I just look at it, that's just a job. If you're the one doing all the work, don't call it an entrepreneur, don't call it a business, call it a job. You just got another job. Anyways, that's just my opinion. So you have to get super clear on what it is that you want your business to do for you. Once you do that, now you document these procedures. How do you respond to emails? How do you answer the phone calls? And you can do this by so many different softwares like Loom, document your, have a checklist, have a video. We would have training videos on how to go over the sales process. And obviously this change over time, but this ensures the business will run smoothly, even if I step away when I hire this individual. And so when this individual replaces myself, now I'm going to learn a lot from that. So just a quick little story. When I was growing the insurance business, I used to manually follow up with every client after policy renewal that first 12 months. I was like, I got to reach out to my friend, my family, my community, and reach out to every policy. Well, that was time consuming. And it often left me like feeling behind in the things that I need to do, marketing, sales, all these other things that came with it. So I had a mindset shift. I decided, I was like, you know what, Ewan? I need to automate the process with a CRM system, which is a client relationship management system tool that sends personalized follow-up emails. So I'm not one manually sending the emails. I'm using a CRM system to send out renewal reminders to these customers. And I just removed myself by leveraging a system and a process and a tool. Now, this system will allow me to focus on creating new marketing strategies instead of chasing renewals, which is working on the business, not in it.
So when a coaching client comes to you and they haven't done any of this, like what would be some of the first steps you'd tell them to do? Would you tell them to take an hour per day, or what would you kind of tell them to do there?
Yeah, great question. So I said it earlier. So step one would be what do you want your business to do for you? Are you okay with working in the business? And if you're not, if that's what we're talking about here, if you're like, nope, I want to hire, I want to remove myself from the business because I want time freedom, financial freedom. So you're getting clear on that. Okay, cool. Next step is, well, Sean, like you just said, Ewan, when am I going to have time for this? I have life. I have all these areas of life. I have to meet the customer demands. Sure, you do. You do. So do I. And so does Jeff Bezos, right? What's the separator here? Well, we got not only super clear, but we also said, you know what? I have the same amount of time that Jeff Bezos does during the day, right? Which is the CEO of Amazon. Well, what allows him to focus and work on the business and not in it? Well, initially, you have to spend X amount of time. So if you're working 10 hours a day from 8 to 5, 8 to 6, whatever that time is, whatever time you're allowing yourself, there's 3 different ways to look at this. There's 3 different percentages. And I learned this in the Michael E. Gerber E-Myth book. He breaks this down in percentages where there's a technician, there's a manager, and there's an entrepreneur. If you're the technician, you're the one doing the business. That's exactly who you are in the business, right? So you're the one doing all the work. You're doing 100% of the work. Then there's the manager, which is managing the systems and the processes. Then there's the entrepreneur, which is working 100% on the business and creating the life that he wants to create. So if this individual, you have to break these percentages down. If you're 100% technician right now, let's take that to 90%. Okay, 90% of 10 hours is 9 hours. So now you're working 9 hours in your business and you're taking that last 30 minutes to work on your business, which is that entrepreneur. And then when you hire that person, you become that manager. So you spend the other 30 minutes. So you break those percentages up. So 9 hours out of the day, you're doing all the work. The other 30 minutes to an hour, you're working on the business, which is what we just shared. You're creating goals, you're creating systems, you're documenting the checklist and processes and videoing the journey. We call it the playbook. And that's what we're currently doing with Level Up and Live. Everything from sending out emails, Google reviews for our guests, it is documented. Our assistant, Lindsay, is working behind the scenes and documenting a playbook, and we'll be uploading to what we call a OneDrive, which is if a new employee comes in, they can go in and see these videos on how-to steps. And we've done this since we started Level Up and Live. Kel had created, how to go in and block off a calendar or schedule a meeting. So these are all documented in times that you work on the business. Now you pick your head up in 6 months, 12 months, you've got all these checklists, all these videos. And now this person that comes in that you hire and remove yourself, they're watching these videos. You've removed yourself from training, and you've also allowed yourself to get back to working a greater percentage on the business. Now you're going from 50% or 90% of the technician working in the business to 50% of technician working in the business. So you're spending half that day, 5 hours, and the other 4 to 5 hours is allocated to working on the business. And guess what? Compound interest, compound dividends. It pays off. So the more and more you work on the business, that will compound over time. And then you become full-blown time freedom, financial freedom, and removing yourself completely from the business and delegating everything.
I think one of the biggest drivers is the feeling, the feeling of, if I was having to do what Lindsay was doing right now on top of all the other things, I'd be wrecked. There's no way I could do it. It would just be a disaster, absolutely disastrous. And so it's this feeling of, I don't even think about it that much because she does such a great job, and it's just kind of, we're all focused on doing what we do. But then if I was to think about it, the relief, in fact, what's the feeling? It's space. I feel the space that if I was doing that, there would be zero space to focus on what the next most important thing is.
Exactly.
So
working on the business.
Yeah, working on it, and it's almost this feeling that it gives you of, well, now I have energy and I have the capacity to focus on the next steps, as opposed to you never get there if you're constantly doing the things that you can't get to do. And
Exactly.
so that's the payoff, and then you can see from there it grows and expands because you're going to systematically keep doing that.
That's it. Yeah. And that's step 3. That's the final step, is delegate and empower the team. So now I bring in team members, and these people that join my teams, right, as they come in, now I'm just working on behind the scenes. I'm working on the business and just tweaking things, evolving, growing as a leader, and empowering them, helping them get to their goals, helping them get to where they want to go. And then at the same time, they enjoy actually talking to the customers versus me, right? I don't want to talk to the customers, but they actually enjoy it. So we create a win-win situation. And then by me trusting the team with the responsibilities, this not only like lightens my load, but also helps them grow personally and professionally. Quick story. When I was handling all the new client consultations myself, Ewan, I was doing the phone calls. I really enjoyed it, Ewan. I love, you know me, like I love the one-on-one interactions, right? It's just my jam. It's just what I'm good at. And that's like my sweet spot. Well, I found out really quickly, in order for me to scale this insurance company in any business that I've built, is it limited my time for strategic planning, right? And so by training somebody to come in, by documenting, by recording my sales call, by recording my process and how I executed it and giving step by steps, I was able to train this individual to take over the initial consultations. Well, are they going to do it 100% like Sean? They're going to execute it every time? No, they're not, right? Well, it's who I needed to become as a leader to train them, to get them to where, they were half that, 75% of that. But now I just freed up my 4 hours of my day having the sales consultation, giving me more time to go out and develop partnerships with, at that time, real estate agents, mortgage brokers who could refer new clients, right? So I was the bottleneck in the business until I was able to understand that mindset of like, they're not going to execute it like I am. But at the end of the day, if they come in and execute it 50% of the time, hey, cool, we can work with that because they meet our values and our beliefs and they're in it for the long run. But now I've removed myself. It's going to be sustainable. I'm going to be here for the long run and not throw in the towel like most business owners do in 5 years. And I'll be here 10, 15, 20 years from now.
So, man, hearing it roll off your tongue, it's like you're speaking. It's like English to you, this other language. That if you haven't been learning that language, you don't know how to speak it. So let's say a coaching client comes to you and they're totally in it, like just can't even pick their head up. They're tapped out as far as expansion goes. They're exhausted. They hear this and the steps to do, which are exactly what they need to do. What pitfalls could they potentially expect from your experience, and from your other coaching clients? Like what could they, when they start doing this, they won't be speaking fluently that language, but what would maybe be something that would help them get fluent in from overwhelmed to they start doing those processes that can help them, not get caught up and get back into it. I guess that's what I'm maybe trying to ask. Like, how do they not slip back into being in it? Like maybe what's some headspace stuff for them?
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to my mind, and the only thing that I feel in my experience that will allow you to be here for the long run, allow this to be sustainable, allow this to be another day of fighting. When you understand the power of the why and tying emotional, compelling nature behind what it is that you're doing, you will jump off cliffs, you will jump off bridges, you will be vulnerable, you'll drop your ego, you'll drop your pride, because the cause, the bigger picture, the macro, the North Star, and what you want your business to do for you is way more powerful than being scared of hiring somebody, is way more powerful than, what am I doing? This isn't sustainable. I don't want to talk to another customer. When you have that feeling of being sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's because 9 times out of 10, you are not clear. You are not clear on what it is that you want your business to do for you. You are not clear on what it is that you want your health to do for you. Think about people that are overweight. Think about people that are experiencing struggles and suffering and frustration in all these areas of our life, myself included, looking in the mirror. But every time it's when I struggle with something, and I don't find it sustainable, it's because I don't have the big enough why, and I end up throwing in the towel, going, "Yep, it's the next thing," and I go to the next shiny object, right? Because the why was not big enough on what I wanted, on what I set out in the first place for it.
And people resist it so much, and I know I'm speaking from experience. Like, I resisted that kind of stuff for the longest time, and I see other people resisting. They won't take the time
Yeah,
to sit down and get clear. I don't know if, because we're not taught that. It's not normal. It's not like we're in school and they say get good at getting visions of what it could be like and where you want to go, and getting clear on that, and then the steps. This was just not taught. I don't think they want us to know, because if you do get that, that's when you can make things happen for yourself. And I think that's the skill, is for people to sit down. So, now, if anyone listening, if you're resisting that, if you haven't done that and gotten super clear, so clear that if it takes you more than 3 seconds to respond to someone, then you're not clear. Like, you should be able to spit it back to someone. Someone's like, "Hey, what's the vision? What's the purpose? The mission you're on?" They should be able to give it like immediately. If you
yeah,
can't do that, then you're probably a candidate for not being clear on where you're going. And then you can look at the stats. 99% of businesses are not in business 10 to 15 years afterwards, after they start. And so I would say that's probably a close statistic on how many people are super clear on their business and their
yeah.
vision, where they want to go.
Yeah, because if you're in it for the wrong reasons, if you have a business, and most people, there's a number of reasons why they start up a business, is maybe it's extra supplemental income, and that's typically from my experience why they get into business. I want to make money. I want to make an extra $500 a month. I want to make an extra $10,000 a month. That's the wrong reason, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're in 12 months, you're going to, like, when you have your first obstacle and struggle, you're like, dude, what am I doing with my life? What
It's an
did I do
important
this for?
reason. It is an important. It has to be there. That money has to be there, because what they're really saying when they say the money is, um, there's actually something behind the money. There's a vision of, well, what would that money do? Oh, well, the money would do this. Aha. Well, then that's actually closer to your vision of what the money would do for
Exactly.
you. There's probably another
Yes.
couple of layers. Well, and then what would that do for you? Oh, well, it would do this.
Yes.
And then it comes down to something else, whatever that is for that individual.
Well, and
So,
I think that's
yeah,
why, for podcasts and books, it's so hard to break that down. I think that's why coaching and mentoring is so powerful. And from the coachees that I've helped, I was able to slow them down, hold their hands, hold them accountable, sell that implementation on breaking that down on they would fight. I remember fighting. I remember challenging each other, but ultimately it came down to the accountability. Like, I mean, that's when God put me on this earth to, I feel like, hold people accountable
yeah,
to a
yeah.
certain degree. And so I think that's one of my special gifts, is being able to take that person through the process and implement something and it's painful, right? Because you're uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And so the in that 3-month time span, when we work with people, it's getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable, and you start seeing the progress and the results, and you start getting super clear on what it is that you actually want. The byproduct of that is the money. And so benefits of, as we wrap things up here, you know, step one is get super clear. Set the goals, 3, 6, 12 months. Step two, create systems and processes so you can delegate that, remove yourself from the business. Start documenting it right now, whether your plan is to hire somebody or not. But if you decide to in the future, in 12 months, at least you can, and that person can come in and watch those videos. Step three, delegate and empower the team. So you're working on the business, spending more percentage on that, and you've got a little bit more breathing room on that. And so by working on the business, this is going to help your strategy. For me personally, it just helped grow and expand these businesses in the direction that I wanted to go. And so having these systems in place, I buy back my time. I gain my time to think creatively and bring on strategic partners and stuff like that to enjoy life outside of, what it is that I was doing. And then also on two, I would add that having a more well-organized business is, obviously, if your plan is to sell it in the future, when you build a business, then having these systems, processes, and people, it's just more attractive to buyers or partners, right? Bringing on, as far as branding and stuff like that.
And they're buying the
And
systems, buying the process.
yep, exactly. And just final thoughts on just working on the business, just really trying to pour into people, is when you take this step back and then you ensure these daily tasks are building towards something bigger, right? It's like you talked about, it's like the bigger picture, the vision, tying that to it. I finally realized over amount of time that by focusing on the strategy, the systems, and the delegation, being intentional about that, it really helps scale and grow these businesses that we've built, serve more clients, and have more time for what matters most to you, which is the most important piece. And for me, it was my time. I wanted to buy back my time because that is our most important asset in our time on this earth is our time. Where are you spending it? Are
Yeah,
you
man.
doing it? Is it aligning it with your purpose? And if not, then here's your time to review it.
Amen to that, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean,
Yep.
this is the blueprint. Like, there's
Yep.
not like 10 different versions of this. Like, it's everything you spoke about today. If a new business owner or a business owner 6 months in hears this and take these steps and follows the process and
Yep.
gets pushes through,
Yep.
man, they will excel past someone that's been in business for 5 years that hasn't done this work. They'll do it
That's
really
right.
quickly.
If it was easy, everybody would do it, and that's what it comes down to. And so most won't, and those that do, they're going to get to where they want to go. There's two roads of pain. There's the pain of where you're at right now, and then there's the pain of, hey, let's get comfortable getting uncomfortable. But then you start seeing the fundamentals, the principles, and the progress along the way, and then you pick your head up and go, oh, okay, this is sustainable, for the long term. So if you're listening to this, make sure you share it with a business owner, entrepreneur that needs to hear it, needs a wake-up call. Send us a text, 936-788-4295, 936-788-4295. If you're needing assistance, let us know what you liked about the episode and as a review. This is what helps us grow and expand. We would greatly appreciate it, because we don't do paid advertising as of now. There's nothing worse than listening to a podcast and you're right in the middle of something and a paid advertising comes up. We don't do it right now. We're not saying it's not going to be done in the future, because we're growing, we're expanding, we're making things happen, but we're looking to level up ourselves. And outside of that, thanks again for listening. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Level up and live.
Amen. Level up and live.